Oh, what's going on, GameLeap's top lane Jizz coming in hot, and in today's upload we are going to be revealing the 15 best top laners of patch 11.10, which is only a few days away now. And once again, pro guides, we've uploaded this nice and early so you can post exactly the same video on your channel. So yeah guys, if you want to know who the most broken champions are going to be in that top lane when the new patch drops, strap yourselves in for the next 10 or so minutes. And there are some red hot picks in here because of the upcoming changes, so get ready for some fat detail. And if you want even more detail, then you've got to get signed up to the GameLeap website. Why do you think thousands of summoners are already signed up? For a laugh? Well, maybe, but we also have the freshest and the best courses and guides going around that are guaranteed to improve your game on the Rift. So sign up. Links as always in the description and comment section. Alright, so let's get into it guys, and starting off the countdown, we have a champion who has been, well, one of the strongest picks in the top lane so far this season, and next patch, with Drinker getting buffed, and I'm going to put those changes on the screen now, Fiora is going to be in a better spot. Even if you don't go Drinker, if you opt for the Essence Reaver Stridebreaker combination, which some people are still building, even Shield Bow in there as well after your Essence Reaver, Fiora is having success. And if you can master her, she is easily one of the most devastating champions in that top lane. One kill turns into 10, turns into 20, and you solo carry and end the game by 25-30 minutes. And just to touch on the Drinker change a little more guys, they're actually removing the health increase and the nerf they were giving it because they were actually reducing the healing again, but now they're increasing it, so it's like a mini revert in the way. Yes, it's not 12% like it was back in the start of the season, it's now 10% of your missing HP. So when you use its active, this is going to heal you for more, so when you're on the brink of death, if you're playing Fiora and the other champions on this list who use Drinker, you are going to heal back up to full HP. And on top of that guys, we also can't forget that Fiora actually got buffed this season, so back in 11.4, her passive damage, so her vitals, do more damage. So in that 1v1 in that top lane, you are literally the grand duelist. You're extremely hard to play against, it's just that Fiora is very high skill cap. You know, there's a big difference between a very good Fiora and just one, you know, who's kind of average. But if you can play her, as I said, she is one of the best champions to main and play in that top lane. Now, I just mentioned the Drinker buff, didn't I? That's now coming in. Well, this next champion, like Fiora, can make full use of it. And for Riven, well, you guys are building Drinker pretty much in every game. So in 11.10, you want to be boxes are going to be a lot better off. And Drinker is so important to Riven, guys. So when it gets a bit of an improvement, a bit of a buff, Riven really feels it. And the buff to the heal means you can go in and teamfight your way more effective in 1v1. Obviously, you're going to be better off as well. And kind of like Fiora, if you can play Riven at a high level, you have one of the best chances of hard carrying and 1v9ing. And like Fiora, Riven got buffed earlier in the season, so her E cooldown got reduced by 2 seconds at each rank. And just think about this with Drinker's mythic passive, which gives you ability A's for each legendary item you have. This means you can E like every 3 seconds later in a game. We also have to keep in mind the death stands buff from 11.9, so Riven in terms of our items guys is in a really good spot, as is the champion. It's just that yeah, not enough people actually know how to play her. So in between your abilities guys, make sure you're auto attacking to make use of your passive. That is the big difference between a great Riven and your typical 110 edgy Riven player in gold. Now following Riven guys, I'm actually excited for this pick because I don't think I've mentioned her in the top lane. And because next patch, well, one of your mythics is getting buffed and improved, Akali is actually back on the menu. And there are a few reasons for the Jizz including Akali in the top lane list. The first reason is because you can take Ignite and Teleport. And what Ignite does guys, okay, so Flash can be used offensively, yes it can be, but really it's like a defensive summoner spell. On Akali, you don't actually really need it. Once you hit level 6, you essentially have like 3 dashes, so taking Flash is most of the time going to be overkill. Ignite gives you that kill pressure, that 1v1, that's what you're about. You're about that single target damage, you're one of the best assassins in the game post level 6. This is what it gives you, an insane amount of kill pressure. It's also really good against top lane champions Ignite, because most top laners have innate healing or healing from their items, so Ignite negates that effect. And next patch with a new Rift Maker which is going to stack quicker, this means you get access to that damage and healing faster. And if you're running Conqueror and then Taste of Blood and Ravenous Hunter in your runes, you might be running Resolve if you're into a hard matchup. You know, either way, your sustain is going to be really good, your damage you're going to access that quicker, and against these bruisers and fighters who can jump onto you, especially with the new Stridebreaker, your W is a great cuck. So whenever a Renekton jumps into you or a Darius pulls you in, you can just W and just wait it out and chill. Use your E as well to disengage if you know things get too sticky. And another point I want to raise here guys, if you're against a squishier champion and you're doing really well, like you're winning lane, build a Rocket Belt. Now Rocket Belt gives you a flash essentially, so it gives you that dash that you don't have, right, because you're going to be running Ignite. Rocket Belt gives you that extra mobility guys that you might need in some situations. It also gives you a gap closer so you can Rocket Belt an ult onto someone and start off your combo, and also gives you an escape if you really need it. The new flat magic penetration you get from it is also really good, and the mythic passive as well, so it gives you really good scaling, and your sorcerer's shoes and Rocket Belt spike is one of the scariest in the game. And if any of you guys have played against a good Akali in the top lane, you know how frustrating it is to play against her as a fighter, as a bruiser, even as a tank. She's very hard to kill and she always has some sort of kill potential, especially from level 6. Now beating Akali to the 12th spot on this countdown, guys, is a champion whose win rate has improved heaps recently, and this is Set, who got buffed in 11.9, his W and his R bonus AD ratios, and this has seen Set become a lot stronger in that top lane. Now, yes, you might not be as scary next patch because Gore Drinker is getting buffed, and obviously you don't go Gore Drinker, you go Stridebreaker instead, so these champions like Riven and Fiora will be a bit more annoying to play against, but as said, you have incredible dueling potential against these fighters. You have Bork, you have Stridebreaker, you have Steris Gauge, and that first item, Blade of the Ruined King, this spike is legit. It's so hard to play against the Set with one of them because of his Q, he also has the movement speed from Bork and the lifesteal. It's very hard to walk into Set and just beat him in a straight up 1v1. But the real cuck to Set, guys, is the Bramble vs tank build. So if you're against a Cho'Gath, a Malphite, it can be pretty annoying to play against if you're playing a Set, and there isn't really a counter for it, which is why Set isn't higher on this list. Now, I've mentioned a couple of Gore Drinker abusers already, guys. Well, this next champion has really picked up recently and has kind of become a new thing. And this is Lee Sin Top, who we even made a video on. And so many people are playing it, guys. In fact, he's even getting banned at MSI right now. Okay, maybe he has a bit of flex potential when you just hover him, but in the top lane, he is very strong indeed. Not just for his trading potential, because it's easier to stack Conqueror with your passive, but also because of your setup potential. If your jungler is coming in even before level 6, you can just W to a ward or a minion, either enemy champion, it's very hard for them to escape. And when level 6 comes around, of course, you have your ultimate up, which does a lot of damage, and you can kick them into your tower, you can kick them towards your jungler. It's pretty much a guaranteed kill when your jungler is nearby and you're playing Lee Sin Top. And with Gore Drinker buffed, it's just going to be even harder to actually lane against him. Even in the first 2 levels, if you get the push and you're actually beating him in lane, when level 3 comes around, it's one of the scariest things to see in the top lane. So we're now into the top 10 top laners, guys, of 11-10. If you enjoyed these videos, please let us know by leaving a like on the video. And yes, coming in at number 10 is a champion who has been one of the staple picks in the top lane so far this season. And yes, he might not be picked in pro play or that much in high elo, but the truth is this: Nasus is one of the strongest top lane champions, especially in lower levels of play. In fact, even in high elo, players are still doing well on him. And perhaps the biggest reason for this, guys, is your spike with Divine Sundra, the hybrid damage with your own. It's too much. And I've said this before, when Riot reduced your Q's cooldown by half a second, it was a bit of a meme at the time, like half a second, who cares about that? It was actually one of the biggest changes since the new shop drop. And the reason it's so important is because you max your Q. With your ultimate, your Q's cooldown gets reduced as well. So when you have ability haste in your kit and level 9 or level 11 comes around, for fighters and bruisers in particular, you're pretty much impossible to play against. Now, in the early laning phase, you are still vulnerable, don't get me wrong, but thankfully, Darius is nerfed. And if you just farm and chill and get your stacks and wait until you get Divine Sundra and Frozen Heart maybe after that, even the new Abyssal Mask might be worth entertaining because of the new passive. You've got Gargoyle Stoneplate as well. All of your items have been buffed this season and are in a really good spot at the moment, which again is why Nasus is one of the strongest champions and again on this top lane list. Now, do you guys like crabs? Because I love them. Well, this is why Urgot is coming in at number 9 on the countdown. Now, apart from tasting delicious, crab claws, well, these are the scariest going around, like legit, I would not go near these. But it's not actually the crab claws we should worry about, guys, because Urgot is one of the scariest champions because of his legs. And those little legs of his that shotgun their way through the opponent, well, this is why it's scary. Because the on hit you get in your W, which is your purge, and you max this now, is transferring some of that power you get from Titanic Hydra, some of that on hit, and putting it onto your enemies. So when you're Wing around in lane kind of unconsciously, you're actually dishing out a lot of damage, and for champions in the top lane who are typically more melee than range, it's very hard to get close to you. With Stridebreaker as well, I've talked about this before, you get the stickiness you need because yes, getting kited on Urgot is your biggest weakness, so this pretty much cancels that out now. It's very hard to deal with you not just in lane, but also in teamfights. So the GOT comes in at number 9. Now, speaking of Stridebreaker, coming in at number 8, guys, it's not Darius, it's not Garen, and I don't know if we've had a patch this season that hasn't included Darius or Garen on the top laners list, but this champion has featured on a few, and he is the other Stridebreaker abuser in the top lane, and this is Nocturne. And this season, guys, it's been a bit of a revelation in the top lane for Nocturne, kind of like Lee Sin in a way. The Stridebreaker, the Steris Gauge combo, this is one of the best on the Rift. It's just a fact. So the ability haste you get with Stridebreaker, the stickiness, the active, the slow you get when you jump on an enemy champion, with your ultimate, with your E, which fears them, it pretty much means that you're never going to miss your E, so the enemy champion is always going to get feared, whether it's an ADC or a mid laner. And in lane as well, you have sustain, you have wave clear, you have gank potential, you have even like it's hard to gank you because of your W and your E. Like you have everything you want, and then you have map pressure when you hit level 6. Now next patch, yes, it might be a little bit harder to make Nocturne work because of the popularity of Shirelia's increasing. You know, ADCs and mid laners you're going to jump on are going to have shields and movement speed bonuses and all that, but still, Nocturne in the top lane is still one of the most powerful top laners going around. Now coming in next, guys, is a champion who is actually having more success building Sunfire Aegis rather than Gore Drinker, and this is Kled. But because of the Gore Drinker changes which are coming, which are just pretty much buffs, Kled is going to be better off. And honestly, the only real problem for Kled, guys, next patch is that Fiora is going to be strong, and she is your biggest counter because if she parries your bear trap, well yes, GG. But yes, with Gore Drinker, with Titanic Hydra, with Steris Gauge as well, the attack damage, the health, the sustain, the tankiness, everything in here makes it very hard to deal with play, and the fact that most people don't know actually how to play against you. So he's a great one-trick champion as well. Now we're getting to the cream of the crop here, guys, for 11-10 in the top lane, and coming in at number 6 is Malphite, who has been one of the best tanks and top laners in the game. And even after Riot nerfed Sunfire Aegis at the start of the season, the fact that they reverted some of its damage, its immolate damage, has put Malphite back on the map even more. And if you guys remember to what I said before about Set, you know, champions who can build Bramble Vets like Malphite, Cho'Gath, Ornn, these champions typically are harder to deal with. Well, because Bramble Vets is 800 gold and armor is your key stat for Malphite, this makes you the immovable object for pretty much everyone. Also next patch, guys, Abyssal Mask, which, yeah, okay, magic resist isn't the most important stat on Malphite, but the fact that your Q and ultimate are going to set up more damage for your teammates and yourself on that target champion makes it really good for team fighting. And like Nasus, guys, your items are pretty similar, and because of that, they're in a good spot. So if you think of Frozen Heart, if you think of Gargoyle Stoneplate, these items are in a good spot and in a strong position, so Malphite by default has to be on this list. Now, kicking off the top 5, guys, we're going to actually stay with the tanks for this one. I'm sorry about that. But this guy is the biggest, baddest force on the Rift once you scale. Like, the best scaling top laner, hands down. And this is Cho'Gath, and one of the reasons why, guys, is because with Frostfire Gauntlet, which gives you more health and size for each legendary item you have, like, the enemy team can't actually get to your carries because they can't see them. You'll be covering them up with that big booty of yours. With Darius weaker as well, your early laning phase, which is typically pretty weak, you're going to get out of the lane more. You're actually going to win lane as well, because Cho'Gath isn't actually that easy to take down. Like, your E gives you really good sustain and so does your passive, and your silence is a really good stopper to any engage or gank that's coming your way. And on top of that, guys, you might also want to think about the new Abyssal Mask that's coming, which is going to increase yours and your teammates' damage to immobilize enemy champions. So when you Q them, you and your teammates are going to do more damage, like I was saying with Malphite. So Cho'Gath again, guys, coming in at the top 5 in 11-10. So if a champion as strong as Cho'Gath is coming in at number 5, who can beat him to the number 4 spot? Well, honestly, guys, I think this champion might have been in more countdowns than anyone else, and this is because Wukong has been strong ever since the new preseason and new season. And I think we all know why. We don't have to dwell on this too much. You're innate tankiness, you've got your E, you've got a dash and your W as well. It's hard to gank you, it's hard to kill you. You have setup with your ultimate, you have your Q, which makes it really easy to combo, stack Conqueror, it also proc Spellblade damage. And next patch as well, it might even be worth looking into a bit of Gore Drinker action if you need that sustain in lane. So Wukong once again, guys, right at the top of the list. Now, unlike Wukong, guys, this next champion hasn't been on our top laners list for that long, if any, this season. And this is because Rumble, until recently, hasn't really been that good. But now, because Riot changed your passive, so each time you're overheating, you're actually getting 50% attack speed, which is crazy. And remember, your auto attacks when you're overheating are dealing more damage. This means that when you do overheat, which back in the day was actually your weakness, you know, enemy champions, that's your green light to go on a Rumble. Well, now it's like you don't have a weakness. If they jump on you, you've got that 50% attack speed. You actually do more damage when you're overheating. So you can just unconsciously shove waves in the early game, get your jungler priority for Scuttle Crab. It's hard to get close to you because you're your Flame Spitter, and your Sorcerer Shoot Spike and the new Rocket Bell, which again is giving you Magic Pen. This is very scary to play against and almost impossible to. Now, if you do play Rumble, guys, in the top lane, just save your shield for if the enemy champion, you know, goes in or you get ganked. That's important because of the movement speed as well. But apart from that, just keep spinning. Oh, and I forgot to say, guys, as we get into the top 2 champions, the top lane in 11-10, make sure to sign up to the GameLeap website. It is the Jizz's last friendly reminder. If you want to know why players like Faker and the best one-tricks on the world on the champions you play are so good, well, I break it all down, as do my challenger companions. So head on over there for daily access to our exclusive videos that will help you climb and master your picks. Links down below. So yeah, the runner-up to the best champion, guys, the best top laner of 11-10 is Shen, and this is because of Redemption. And this new build, which has been discovered by Xpedu, shout out to Xpedu, it's all about that shield power, and it's like you're playing support Shen. So instead of going Sunfire Aegis for the dueling damage, the tankiness, and maybe Titanic Hydra after that as well, you're actually playing a different type of Shen, so more about withstanding whatever is thrown at you in the top lane, and then ulting around the map, because your ultimate, guys, in 11-9 got buffed in the late game. So as you scale, the more HP you get, the more shield you're going to give that teammate you're ulting onto. This means that your AD carry, your mid lane, or whoever it is, they're not going to die when you're ulting, so you can join that fight now. So the build, just quickly, again, if you've been living under a rock recently, is Chem Tank for the ability haste, and the active comes in useful as well, so you can get more shields up. Redemption for the shield power and the ability haste, and then Mikhail's for the ability haste and for the shield power. So your passive, your ultimate, it's quite simply the best way of playing Shen at the moment, especially with ADCs like Jinx and Vayne being good. You want to protect your damage dealers. So once again guys, I reckon you can guess who the #1 top laner is because I haven't mentioned her yet, and I really wish I could say someone else, but the truth is this guys, Camille is still super strong. I know I said Cho'Gath was the best scaling top laner in the game, like it is very hard to bring down, but in terms of offensive power, you still do a ridiculous amount of damage in the late game, and you can still beat anyone in that 1v1. With a new Trinity Force as well, you're getting a more rounded stat line, which is great because attack speed, you didn't really need it, it was superfluous. So now when you hook shot onto someone, when you ult onto the enemy backline, it's impossible to take you down with Sterex Gauge because you have the tankiness and sustain you need, and whether you decide to go Titanic Hydra or Ravenous Hydra, you are one-shotting pretty much everything in front of you. Now the laning phase might still be a little difficult, especially early on because your cooldowns are long and you don't really have that offensive power just yet, and you might even entertain going Ignite guys instead of Flash, so a bit like Akali, what we talked about before. This is going to give you more kill threat and give you more potential to get 1 kill, turn it into 10 and then hard carry. But yes, for another patch, Camilla's holding the #1 spot for the top laners, and those are the picks guys. So any thoughts, let me know in the comments what they are, and again make sure to hit the sub button so you don't miss tomorrow's video in which I'll be uncovering the 15 best mid laners of patch 11.10, so stick around until then. This has been the Jizz, peace.